Mini episode 456 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by the Pullins Group, delivering public affairs consulting and marketing services for small businesses trying to grow. Follow them on the web at pullinsgroup.com.
The FDH Lounge. You want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hey everyone, welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode number 456. Rick Morris and Kyle Ross. It's NFL season again. It's time for your favorite FDH Lounge dignitaries to come in here, break down some NFL football with you, and we're going to be doing this all season long as we have the past two seasons. And we have a lot of games to get to here with week one. Obviously, we're not into the bye weeks yet, and we start, Kyle, with one of the biggest games probably on the slate of the entire season. The game that I've already fingered as being a preview of the NFC Championship game for this year. It's Green Bay at Seattle, a line where the Pack was getting 5.5 to open with, going to 6 subsequently. It couldn't be a bigger way to start Thursday night, no question.
No, I also have this as my projected NFC Championship game. If I did offer a recommendation on playing this game, I would recommend a teaser. I would tease Seattle down to a pick'em at home, and then do what you want with the total, whether you like over or under.
Okay.
Because the way this line opened at 5, that's the real dead zone. That's the line maker dead zone. You always notice kind of lines tend to hover around 3 or 7. Those are the key numbers, obviously. So 5's a real dead zone. That's basically them saying, we don't know. Now, what we do know is Seattle, the last 2 years under Pete Carroll, has covered all 6 times as a favorite of a touchdown or less.
Okay.
But this line's probably, the way bettors are. They like the favorite, first game of the year. I imagine the line getting bet up even a little bit more. I'm not going to. The only thing I'd recommend is what I said with the teaser, tease Seattle down to a pick, do something with the total, but whichever over-under is your preference. But I'm laying off this game. Seattle will probably win straight up because it's at home. But I'm nervous to lay the points because Green Bay is going to be better this year with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, as is always the case, ill-advised though it may be, I will hazard a guess on every game and only kind of weed it out to my big 3 and ultimately my lock of the week by the time we're all said and done. This one obviously wouldn't make either of those cuts. I will take Seattle. I will lay the 6 points. I agree with you. They're going to win this game. And that then makes me queasy about saying Green Bay is going to slide under the cover.
No, I agree. I agree with your rationale. I mean, kind of the Seattle Super Bowl home dominance. Remember, Baltimore was the first Super Bowl champion to lose the year after, and they were playing at home. So the home field's been huge in the first game of the year for the defending Super Bowl champs.
It has been, and liking that team in that kind of a spot, I think is kind of a given. It's part of the reason Seattle's been bet up. But when teams are bet up, it isn't always for the wrong reason. It is a lot of times, but not always.
Yeah. I know it's week 1. It's the first game of the year. End of the year, this game could have a huge implication on home field advantage in the NFC.
It absolutely could, yeah. I mean, if Green Bay can steal this one here, that means they've only got to match Seattle in the standings to beat them out for home field. So, yeah, there's a lot on the line. Way more than you would think in a game like this, week 1. Going into the games on Sunday, we go to the first one here that's already flip-flopped in terms of the favorite and the dog. It is New Orleans going to the Georgia Dome here to play Atlanta. This is a game where the Saints opened getting 1.5, and it has swung the other way to where
all the way up to +3 at some shops.
Yeah,
Well, the Saints are now -3, I should say.
Yeah, well, +3 for the Falcons, the home team here. This is an interesting one. This has the feel to me of, and we're going to see this maybe in a couple of spots this week, of a bounce-back game for a team that had a disappointing year. I always tend to think, all things being equal, if there's not too much that separates teams in the standings, and I think that New Orleans is a better team than Atlanta, but I don't think it's a dramatic kind of a deal.
Agreed.
Kind of tend to figure they're going to split along the home and road lines. Along that line, picturing this as a spot with Atlanta being a lot more healthy than they were last year in that disastrous year. Give me Atlanta getting the 3 at home.
Love where your head's at. Theme that I'm going to try to nail down as I continue to move through the handicapping world, and hopefully up, is value. I'm going to talk about value with the Lions a lot this year. And to me, This may be the best value on the board, Atlanta. It's going to be my first recommendation of the year.
Okay.
Take the 3 with Atlanta. I don't think it's going to move above 3. You've already started to see some buyback down to 2.5. So I'd act now if you like the Falcons as soon as you're listening to this. Who knows if it's moved by that time. But Atlanta's a really good home team last year aside with Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Double revenge against the Saints. You talked about how this is a big rivalry in the division. More often than not, they split with the home team winning. That didn't happen last year because New Orleans took advantage of Atlanta having the down year.
Yes.
I find it hard to believe that the Saints would come into the Georgia Dome. Remember, these teams opened last year, week 1, and it was the Saints holding on for a win at home that signaled their turnaround in Atlanta's eventual decline.
Yes.
I think fast forward a year later, it's a 180. I like the Saints still to win the division.
Yes.
But I have Atlanta winning this game, stealing it. Love the line value here. Atlanta +3 gets the check.
Okay. Yeah, we both agree on that one, and that is one of your recommended plays for the week. Skipping over the next game on the list, because that'll be one of the big 3 plays here.
I'm going to yell at you probably, I have a feeling.
We come now to another big, I guess you'd still call it a rivalry in the league in terms of the teams and the fans hating one another. Not much of a rivalry based on results on the field in the last couple of decades here. It's the Browns at the Steelers. Steeler week is week 1 this year for Cleveland, and a rare instance of the Browns opening on the road. I believe it's the first time since they came back into the league in 1999.
I think it's the second.
The second,
but it's been a shocking number of home openers in week 1 and a shocking number of losses.
Yeah, a just despicable record there. And again, because
what are they going to lose week 1 every year?
Well, the thing of it is, since '99, the team has been through so many different regimes over a period of time. More often than not, a week 1 loss is a week 1 loss for a new head coach who's starting out the wrong way. So Mike Pettin has to go into Heinz Field to try to get his first win. The Browns opened in this one getting 5 points. It's up to 6.5.
Even 7 now.
Even 7
I imagine it's going to close at 7. By Monday it was 6.5, and it's going to close at 7. I can see why. The Browns are basically the opposite of a public team. Although they have Johnny Football, and this team attracted, believe it or not, a lot of wagers in the preseason, which is sad enough, and they didn't make good on it most of the time, particularly in that first week against the Lions. I can absolutely see why someone would lay the points with Pittsburgh here. I'm not going to. There is one game that I'm going to lay points with. That'll, of course, that's always a shock when I'm willing to lay points. But it's not this one. I will say this. Pittsburgh, last 2 years, has covered a 9.5 and a 10-point spread here at home against Cleveland.
Okay.
I just think Cleveland shows up to play in the first game for Mike Pettin and stays competitive. This will be a microcosm of Cleveland's season as they lose possibly by 7 points.
And that's what I'm getting at for this game here, because I think the Browns are going to keep it relatively close. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The Browns do have a very good defense this year. I think they have the chance to dumb it down to, like a 16-10 kind of a game and just squirm right underneath the number. So I'll say the Browns getting the 6.5 in this one. I'm dubious of them being able to win, but
take the 7. It's available. Why don't you take 7? It's available.
Right,
I'll give it to you. Because you want to take 7. We talk about value.
Okay.
Obviously, you want to grab 7 and not 6.5 if you're taking underdog.
I disagree with you. If you're telling me it's 7,
you've got some 7s. You got some shops.
If that's justifiable,
shop around, folks.
Yeah, if that's justifiable, I like it all the more, because as I referred to in the past, are these teams that when you're on the losing end of it, it's very annoying to you when a team does that. But a backdoor, as I always like to say, penis-punching kind of a team here. If you are a Steeler better this week, you may find yourself being penis-punched at the end by the Browns, maybe even kicking a late field goal and making a 6-point loss. I could see that.
The Steelers aren't a team that can blow people out,
right.
I make a very serious comment after your run of jokes.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a team, although I like them to win the division this year, I don't see them blowing a lot of teams out.
And I'll tell you this, though. I mean, and I'm going to call it right now. I don't think the Browns are going to win this game. But I think it's going to be close enough that you get like a Joe Hayden pick 6 at the end there. That could be your scenario where the Browns win this one outright.
I like where your head's
I don't think they will. But it seems like a lot of points to lay for a team with a real good defense that's going to be, like you said, fired up to win its first game for its new head coach. Next one here, this is a classic kind of a situation. We've talked about dynamics like this in the past with a big spread. The Jacksonville Jaguars going into Philadelphia. The Eagles are laying 10 in this one, down from an 11.5 initially. Interesting that it's been kind of tightening as it's gone along.
Yeah, that surprises me and is actually kind of scares me.
Yeah.
If you like the dog.
Jacksonville is a public dog here, but
there's only one kind of dog I don't like.
Yeah.
Public dogs.
Yeah, and that's, again, I expect you to scold me for saying this. I'm not going to make this a recommended play, but I think when you get down to the style of play that Philadelphia has, they're tough to prepare for. I think there is the potential for overwhelming Jacksonville in this game. I'll say take Philadelphia and lay the 10.
I'm not going to scold you, surprisingly enough.
Okay.
When I first saw this line open and my predilection towards double-digit dogs in this league, I initially put a little dot next to Jacksonville that indicates maybe I should take them. I think Philadelphia's not going to be as good this year in terms of wins and losses, but they're not going to lose this game. And Philadelphia, in the dying days of the Andy Reid era, did not cover point spreads at home, and that bled into the beginning of Chip Kelly, his tenure here. At one point, the Eagles were 0-10-1 against the spread at home. They kind of righted the ship a little bit at the end of last year. I could see Philadelphia blowing Jacksonville out here. I'll say this, if you like the dog, there still is an 11.5 there at 5 dimes. They don't pay me to say this. I'm just trying to help you. But there is an 11.5. They have not moved their number. You have to lay some juice to get that number at 11.5. So I'm laying off this one just because you know me. I do not lay double digits ever. But at the same time, because that number's been bet down a little bit. I just think, like you said, stylistically, Jacksonville does not match up well with Chip Kelly, who showed that he is not afraid to keep his foot on the gas in the preseason. Yeah, and I think that could end up being very, very unfortunate for Jacksonville here in this kind of a spot, because it's a game that could very well get out of hand, and that's actually my guess is that it's going to. Next up is an AFC North matchup. It's Baltimore at home against Cincinnati. This is a game where the Ravens opened up laying 2.5. It went down to 1. Now it looks like 1.5 in a lot of places here. So Baltimore, a very short favorite at home. I know that you, Kyle, are always very wary of short favorites. And those short dogs, I'm a little bit weary. Short dogs on the road. Short dogs on the road. Okay. All right. Well, didn't you say also, or am I misremembering that? I thought you were also wary of short favorites. Are you, especially at home? It depends. Okay. I mean, it depends on the number. Okay. In this instance, I wouldn't be as weary of Baltimore. First of all, I don't like this game at all. Okay. This is one of a handful of games that I looked at initially and said, no clue. And every time I look through it, I'm like, nope, still don't have a lean here at all. Okay. I'll say this. With the number going down, though, it does make me like Baltimore a little bit more. You know, they never were laying a field goal, but now it's getting closer to a pick 'em. I don't know. All you got to do is win at home. Baltimore's usually has been a good home team for John Harbaugh. I don't think Cincinnati's going to be as good. The problem is I just don't like Baltimore very much. Well, so I'm laying off here. I'm leaning Baltimore because going back to the New Orleans-Atlanta thing from earlier, classic kind of a default for me. There's not much to separate the teams. I default to the home team. Like you said, in the case of Baltimore, you're not even going to have to lay a field goal to do that. That's all the more reason. And again, maybe not as much of a prove something thing as Atlanta had in their favor, of where they had a complete disastrous season and they have a lot there. But maybe in a proportionate kind of way, almost the same kind of thing for Baltimore. First year missing the playoffs after, 5 or 6 years? Yeah, and they got clobbered. It was a loss to Cincinnati that cost them last year. So, I mean, this is a big revenge game for Harbaugh and company. Yeah, there's a lot to prove there as well. I like Baltimore consequently because of that. Do you know what these teams have in common, by the way, besides playing in the AFC North? What? Overpaid quarterbacks. Thank you. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They certainly have that in common. Next up here, a battle of two Rust Belt teams, an interconference game in Week 1. Interestingly enough, we don't see that very often. Yeah, we don't have a lot of that this week. Although Jacksonville Philly was one. Well, yeah, there was that one, and the one we look at after this one is going to be as well. But Chicago is laying 7. They are at home against Buffalo. I like it less that it's 7. I got it at 6.5 personally. I can show you my ticket. I think if you'd like. At 6. Yeah, it opened at 6, and I get it. I feared that when you look at these teams that it would move up. I can show you my ticket if you'd like. That says 6.5. I will take your word for it, Kyle Ross. Look, Buffalo's, spoiler alert, is kind of a surprise team for me this year, but it ain't happening in Week 1. Chicago was dreadful against the point spread last year. They were 4-11-1 against the number. I believe a league worst. Those things have a funky way of evening themselves out. I think the Bears are going to have a big year and a big start. A rare recommendation on chalk for me. This is my second recommendation. Chicago. I got a -6.5. Still lay it at 7. Just will be a little weary of the push. In a week where I don't have a good feel for hardly any of the games, including, quite frankly, at least 2 of the 3 I'm going to recommend,
this might have been the hardest one for me. Ultimately, this is one of these rare instances, a little Freaky Friday going on here, folks. I'm going the other way. Kyle's taking a decent-sized favorite. I'm taking the dog. I think the back door is going to be open, and that is because we're both high on Chicago, have them making the playoffs this year. Both of us agree the defense has some vulnerabilities. We have to believe that Buffalo's offense and that E.J. Manuel are going to be better than a lot of people are thinking. For us to believe in Buffalo, you think they're going to make the playoffs, I think they're going to be a near miss, but both of us are higher on Buffalo than most people are. This is a game where, again, I think they're not going to win, but it's going to be enough of a shootout here. They start to get their sea legs under them and set the table for what's to come. I think with that being the case, they lose by less than 7 or 6.5 as the case may be. And I'm not going to say they're going to win outright. I don't see much of a scenario for that, but I'll take Buffalo to come in through the back door.
I'll tell you this. If you like the Bears' ATS woes to continue, again, I'm going to recommend 5 Dimes. A sharper book, by the way. They're always the ones who kind of have the trickier line, sometimes that'll offer some better value at the lines. They actually have Buffalo available at plus 7.5. They're the only one. Have to lay some juice, though, minus 140 to get that. Obviously,
Okay.
They're going to require a little bit of a tax to get that extra half point, which makes sense. But, at the same time, Pinnacle has the Bears minus 6.5. Again, shop around, sports fans.
Exactly.
Okay, I really like Chicago a lot more at 6.5 than 7. So keep an eye on the line moving up to kickoff.
That makes a lot of sense. Another interconference game that, again, I have a horrible feel for this one as well.
Oh, my God. I have no clue here.
It's Houston at home. They're laying 3. It had been 2.5 at the open against Washington. And this
Still is
the
in
thing.
some places, although the juice is getting high on that 2.5.
And here's the thing, too. When we talk about this with new coaches, week 1, a lot of times it's week 1 coaches getting a surprise win. I mean, in either...
Guess what? There's a problem. You have 2 of them here.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, in my mind's eye, I can see Jay Gruden getting carried off the field. I can see Bill O'Brien getting carried off the field. I just, that's part
in victory, or like they're just
well,
carrying
just
them off
like,
the field
you know,
because they don't want them
first
anymore.
Win,
Okay.
In a Gatorade bath. Like, I can see that. I have that celebratory image in my head both ways. You could make a real good case both ways. I think what it comes down to is this, and again, and I'm a guy who, going way back when, along with my bestie back in the day, we thought we had a system for hitting red-black alternating at the roulette wheel in the casino. It didn't go so well. So I'm going to stay on that. Houston can't possibly win or lose 15 in a row, can they? Give me Houston at home, a little vindication week 1. We see both of these teams, surprisingly in a lot of people's minds, as being divisional winners this year.
Yeah.
One of the two has to get off to that good start. I say the team that couldn't possibly lose 15 in a row dating back to last year, and that would be the Texans.
This is my second least favorite game of the week, and I have nothing for you.
Okay.
I mean, it's if you can get Houston at 2.5, I guess that's some good value. But this is my second least. There's only one game that I like less, and it is the next one.
Okay.
That's all I have for Washington and Houston. I'm going to be very interested to watch it. I'll say that because I'm higher on both teams than most.
Yeah.
But no thanks.
It'll be very competitive, as will the next one. And no question about that. Kansas City laying 3.5 at home to Tennessee. It had been 5.5 at the Open, and
I don't like. Yeah, that's Tennessee's not a team you'd expect to get that kind of love, but 3.5 is still a good number. Obviously, you lose by a field goal, you cover by the half point. That being said, this is still my least favorite game. Like, there is no. This was the game that I looked at the line, especially when it was 5.5. Remember what I talked about with Green Bay, Seattle? It's the no man's land for the line makers. It basically says we don't have a clue. I echo their sentiments. When I went through the lines for the first time this year, this was the game I looked at and said there is no way in hell I'm playing this game. Well, and I maintain that.
Two teams that just exemplify pure mediocrity at this point in time. It's very, very hard to get your arms around. In this circumstance, again, Coach Wiz, first game in Tennessee, largely because, again, I'm down on Kansas City as you are. Tennessee's a live dog. Give me the Titans in the 3.5. They could easily win this outright.
They could. I wouldn't be shocked by that.
No.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs won big either, though.
I'm
not sure on these. I really like to see what we're going to get out of Jake Locker this year before I start betting on or against the Titans.
That's going to answer a lot of questions, I think, about what's going to happen with them. Fortunately, as we get to the next game here, I think it's going to get a little bit more clearer for the both of us. And what we're looking at here is Tampa Bay hosting Carolina, and this is a very, very interesting line. Tampa Bay went from getting 2.5 points now to laying 2.5 in this spot. There's been a real pendulum swing over a period of time. Somewhere in the middle there, where it stopped at about Tampa Bay laying 1.5, but it's up. So it's been just shy of a field goal, sort of making the difference either way here.
That's a
as
big
far as
line move, by the way. Now, granted,
that's a gigantic one.
Week one's different because you have so much time. I mean, these
Right.
opening numbers come out so early.
That's true.
Now, this is a predictable line move for me. Whereas the New Orleans-Atlanta one, where I gave out Atlanta, that was a little more shocking. I understand that we're all high on the Saints this year,
right?
But that's a team who excels at home. This line move is very predictable. I'm very down on Carolina this year, as you know, and a lot of people are too. Cam Newton's health is in question. I personally got Tampa Bay +2. I didn't get them quite at their peak, but I got them +2 a month ago.
Love it.
Figuring that this was going to happen. I no longer recommend them now laying 2.
All right.
I just don't like to bet against a change of get caught with the change of favorites there.
Okay.
I'll say this. I obviously think this is a bounce-back year for Tampa Bay and think very low of Carolina. So it may seem silly to have that mentality. I'm just trepidatious when you see the change of favorite. I don't like to go with the public on that. So no longer will I recommend Tampa Bay, although I'm very happy that I got them +2 a month ago. Total players should know that the number here, the lowest on the week one board at 40. Carolina, by the way, just 1-4 as a road favorite last year against the spread in their dream season. So that shows that's another reason why everyone was betting Tampa Bay plus the points initially.
Right. And I think in looking at this one here, again, I understand what you're saying about the swing not boding very well for Tampa bettors. Nevertheless, I'll stay on them. I'll stay on Tampa Bay laying the 2.5, like them in the spot. Think it's going to be a bounce-back year. I think it starts here. And, again, a lot of times, you see that week one where a team starts the bounce-back process. I think for Lovie Smith and company, this will be the start of that.
Yeah, you can't bet Carolina.
Right.
Many times at all this year. I think it's going to be a very bad year for them. Very bad.
You think it's going to be worse than me, but I don't think it's going to be a great one.
I think it's going to have a top 5 draft pick.
Yeah. Well, we talk about, again, the lowest total line for week one. Some of that comes down to, again, really good defenses that both of them have, but I think more so at this point in time, it's disrespect for the various offenses involved as opposed to, this is a shutdown defense versus a shutdown defense. No, I think the lack of respect for the offenses plays into that as well. Cam Newton very banged up as well. Don't disregard that as a factor.
True, and by the way, the only time Carolina did cover as a road favorite last year was at Tampa Bay, but that was Greg Schiano was the coach then. It was a Thursday night game. Yeah. I believe that was really around his nadir.
Okay.
So
it probably was. We have next up here a classic matchup of NFL rivals from the early 80s, because that was when the 49ers first got themselves established, then and especially into the 90s. Now, the time since has not been kind to the host Dallas Cowboys from this week. They are getting 4.5. That is up from 3.5 initially from the 49ers.
And it peaked, and it's actually down a little bit. This line earlier in the week peaked at 5.5.
Okay.
So there's been some buyback.
Okay.
So it's funny. Initially, you saw the line move with get bet up, and now you've seen some buyback. So some Dallas money has come in here. It's pretty much 4.5s across the board. I see 1.5. That'll disappear.
From a marketing perspective, teams with big followings nationally, I kind of understand the league putting this as a week one prime rivalry. It's going to be the feature game on Fox.
Well, there isn't a lot to choose from at 4 o'clock.
But the thing of it is,
there's not a lot. What are you going to put Carolina, Tampa Bay on?
Because of the greatness of the U.S. Open, of course, there's no CBS games at that point in time. But I still think I kind of question the league doing this in the sense of it only serves to remind us all that the Cowboys have fallen on hard times since when this game really mattered. So it might kind of backfire.
People
on them.
I don't think it will.
It's not
you know why?
Stir up the echoes. Just not.
They'll try. I think you're people who look. I know it defies all logic, but you cannot underrate the Dallas Cowboys' popularity across this country enough. They are the most popular team in the league. They just are. It's the most. No franchise is worth more in pro sports. Yeah. They're the most popular team.
Yeah,
they just are. I mean,
there's
a reason that Dallas always makes these national TV games at 4 o'clock, deserving or not.
A lot of bandwagon fans for a thoroughly mediocre team, but
the bottom line, I mean, usually I call bandwagon fans smart consumers, but in this case, it is a little mystifying.
Well, and you can tell from my general tone here which way I'm going to go on this one here.
Road favorite Ricky makes his first appearance in 2014.
Yes, not a recommended play, not one of my big three, but give me the 49ers. This is a spot where, again, they're licking their wounds coming off of that NFC Championship game. It's been a rough off season when you look at when we've talked about at other times here, injury issues, suspension issues, Coach V front office issues. They've been pointing to opening day almost ever since the end of last season. They're going to come out like a house of fire. They're going to storm the Cowboys, I think. This is going to be this could get ugly.
I disagree.
Okay.
You know what way I'm going here.
Yes, I do.
As soon as I saw this game, and it kind of stinks because I think some of the buyback on Dallas is because the Alden Smith suspension, which, by the way, matters.
Yes.
San Francisco is a team who will not win as many games this year as you think. I said that before.
Okay.
I'm going to say it again here. And I am recommending. How about them Cowboys plus the points? I got them personally.
Wow.
I got them personally at the 5.5 peak. Pardon me, 5. I got them at 5. I didn't get them quite at the peak. But as I look at my tickets here. But I'm still recommending 4.5 at home. The Cowboys 16-7 against the spread as a dog under Jason Garrett. They often play the best when you expect them to play the worst. They will probably lose this game by a field goal. It will be blamed on Tony Romo. It won't be his fault, but that's the way I recommend. I love me some home dogs, and I love me the Cowboys this week. I had this one, but this is, we talked about Tennessee, Kansas City. I marked it right away, no thanks. I marked this one right away. Oh, I'll take the Cowboys. Because I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets bet back up closer to kickoff. So if you like the Cowboys like me, if you're a home dog guy, I might want to wait till Sunday to get your bet in here.
Well, you got the narrative all planned out for this one, Kyle Ross. You should be writing Raw these days. Notice that I didn't bury SmackDown for what it's worth.
Yes.
But, if you're
or NXT.
Yeah.
Oh,
if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yes.
On to the Sunday night game here. We've got all primetime games here until we get to my big three at this point. The Sunday night game, another big media angle this weekend here.
I know how you hate those because why would
Peyton Manning versus the Colts?
Why would
first time in Denver?
Why would a network want to drum up interest on a game? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Should do it between the lines, Kyle Ross. I'm a purist. Based on action between the lines here. That's
Nobody is interested. That's
should
what
all be predicated.
Yeah,
on.
you and Bud Selig. You, Bud Selig, and 10 people at baseball games. Sincerely.
Yes, exactly. The Colts are getting 7.5 up from 6.5 initially.
That's a big move.
It is, and it's a spot where, again, and I've referred to this a couple of different times in terms of bounce back teams pointing to week one, whatever. I would dare say that even more so than Houston, which went 2-14 last year, nobody's been looking more forward to week one vindication than Denver after the most embarrassing of all possible Super Bowl outcomes. And yet, again, I come back to how well Indianapolis played against Denver last year when they weren't expected to do so.
They beat them. You talk about embarrassments. I believe that was a Sunday night game.
And they beat them pretty soundly.
Yeah, Denver kind of came back in the end and made it interesting, but that was a shocker. Everyone expected the Colts to get waxed, and waxed they did not get.
Yeah, and again, is Denver going to miss Robert Mathis early on? Absolutely.
You mean Indianapolis?
Or Indianapolis, yeah, going to miss.
Denver will not miss that.
No,
Robert
they
Mathis
will not.
is not out
Denver
there.
Denver will be glad not to have Robert Mathis out there. So a lot of things I'm saying would point me towards Denver, but especially now that it's up to 7.5, I think the back door is open.
Get that extra hook.
Yeah, I don't think Indianapolis can win this one. But if they lose it by a touchdown, wouldn't shock me. I'll take the Colts and the points.
I hate the side in this game because I would never take Indianapolis here, and I like underdogs. But this time around, I think a Denver rout is far more likely than an Indianapolis outright win.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
If you are hurting a little bit, I'll say this: if you're looking for a little action on Sunday night, which everyone always is, you get that 2-2 day in the afternoon. You want that winner. If you roll it all into Sunday night, you look for that one last winner. Maybe look at the over here. Now, this is the highest total of the week at 55, 55.5 even at some shops. Mm-hmm. I think Denver's going to put a lot of points on the board against this Colts defense. And the Colts could be forced to play catch-up against a Denver defense that maybe takes its foot off the gas. So I think if you're looking to play this game, the over might be a good way to go. I'm not recommending, it's not going to make my recommended sheet this week, but that might be the way to do it. Yeah, I do recommend totals from time to time, but I won't go all on out here.
You could do far worse than that. The over really looks attractive.
But it used to be you always wanted to go under on week one.
Right.
But that's kind of the last few years as scoring has risen, rule changes. You're familiar with what's going on in this league, Ricky.
Yep.
That hasn't been the case. Week one games are going over with a little bit more regularity this season, or
exactly.
the last couple seasons.
Exactly. It is a different world now. No question about that.
I know you and Pep Buchanan bemoan that every day.
Yes. the makeup of America. Yes, that does cause me pain. No question about it.
Jesus, you gotta be ashamed of yourself.
We get to the Monday night doubleheader, the first game here. And you talk about games that, again, I have a horrible feel for just because these are two wildly inconsistent teams. It's the New York Giants at Detroit in a game where the Giants are getting 5.5 up from 4 initially. Now, again, I'd say that the Lions are inconsistent, and yet this is the first game under Jim Caldwell. But I don't necessarily see much changing this year in that regard because, again, great offense, defense with a lot of Swiss cheese type holes in it. In a game where I don't have a great feel either way, I'll take the points. Eli Manning's the kind of guy that's going to screw me either way. If I go on the Giants, they're going to get blown out. If I pick against them, he's going to screw me and backdoor it. I'll go with Eli Manning. Give me the 5.5.
Giants have certainly been a profitable road dog under Camp Coughlin. 33-20-1 against the number one, taking points away from home.
Didn't know that. I'm surprised by that, but I kind of intuited that, I guess, roughly, that they've done that.
Meanwhile, Detroit under the now 86th Jim Schwartz were not good laying points at home. 4-8 against the number of the last 2 years. I hate this is another one. I got no clue. My initial thing was the Lions because I thought the Lions were going to be a bounce-back team. I've cooled on them a little bit. I'd probably take the points here, but I'd certainly – it'll be interesting. Maybe by Monday, because the Monday games don't start getting real action on until Monday, the day of the game. I'd be interested to see how the line moves.
Right.
On game day before I recommended anything. I'm not getting involved with this game. I like the other game too much.
Yeah.
On Monday night.
Exactly. The other one is very interesting as well. You usually get a garbage team involved in one of these games. It's usually in Oakland or somebody because they know that
they just don't have a lot of West Coast teams. That's why there's just not a lot of teams that can play this late spot.
But, you haven't seen San Francisco in that spot since they've been any good. So
because you also don't really want to ask like a really good team to do that.
Yeah, but this one just strikes me that, again, now you and I are both down on Arizona from last year. You more so than me. But still, on paper, looking at what they did last year, this is the most attractive 10 o'clock kickoff game they've had in years on Monday night Monday night openers. It's the Arizona Cardinals laying 3 down from 3.5 at the outset to San Diego. And where my head's at on this one is that I won't even say live dog because I'm pretty high on San Diego this year. And this is a prototype of a kind of game where I think they're going to go in, they're going to win it outright. Live dog sort of like implies you think they have a chance. This was borderline on me almost for being a pick. Recommended play for me this week. I'm pretty strong on San Diego.
My fourth recommendation, I obviously like it a lot more if it's 3.5, which it's not going to go back to. Still available if you pay a little bit of a tax at Pinnacle. They're the only ones left at 3.5. Love San Diego at 3.5. I'm like you, though. I can easily see an outright win here. This is a better team getting the points situation.
Yes, that's it exactly.
To me, this line should be closer to a pick'em.
To
me, any points San Diego gets are a premium. I would not be surprised at an outright win. They are not a stranger, by the way, to this late Monday night start. They've done it in the past.
Right, and that sort of plays into what I was talking about. Because rarely has San Diego gone into a game like this looking as good as they look right now. By the way,
their only game they lost badly, they lost by more than one possession last year, was a 10 p.m. start.
Okay.
But I don't see but they'll be ready for this. This is not a middle of the season last minute change because of baseball.
Right.
And it's dinosaurs that run that sport, okay? Oh, by the way, let me just wax on that. This is a week one situation they've been able to prepare for.
Yep.
San Diego gets the check mark. My fourth recommendation of the week.
Okay. That takes us to our 3 recommended plays from me for the week. First one here is a battle of 2 dome teams. These next 2 games make me very queasy.
Well, Minnesota's not a dome team this year.
Oh, that's right, they're not. Well, they will.
I can't wait to see some of those late season games in Minnesota where everyone has like 2 feet of snow on them.
Yeah, it'll be like the old days out at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington. That's right. They will be a dome team again in, I think, 2 years. But for the next 2 years, they are playing at the University of Minnesota. And so, as such, the Vikings on the road this weekend against the Rams. Talked about it earlier on, the 70s here. Vikings-Rams, that was a big rivalry in the 70s when both teams mattered. Neither one does much right now, certainly at this moment in time. Vikings are getting 4. That is down from 5 initially. I said previously I don't have much of a handle at all on week 1. I don't. There are just weeks that I hate it.
You struggled out of the gate last year, remember?
I started 0-12. But the thing of it is, with my recommended plays, but here's the thing. I didn't necessarily feel a lack of confidence. My confidence level doesn't always correlate to how well I do. There's weeks when I feel like I want to vomit on making my picks, and I do okay. I do surprisingly well. There's other weeks where I'm just bursting with confidence, and I take it right in the backside. So I don't know. I don't have much of a feel for week one. I normally have a rule, Kyle Ross, that I do not, when you're talking about two garbage teams, I stay away from them because the variance possibility is just too great.
Makes sense.
I think with St. Louis, again, and you and I have differed a lot on the value of Sam Bradford to that team.
I don't think he has much.
I just think it's so disheartening the fact that their entire season went in the crapper.
Kind of late, too, you know.
Late.
They're still trying to kind of recover in St. Louis, I bet, over that.
And I just think they're in a bad spot for that. I don't know for sure that Minnesota is going to win, but they're certainly a live dog. I think that, again, their quarterback situation is a lot more stable, even without Teddy Bridgewater, who I think is going to be very good from day one. Castle's a guy that, again, he can come in. He's a Ryan Fitzpatrick type. He can be acceptable under certain circumstances. God help me, I'm taking the Vikings on the road, getting the 4.
You're a braver man than I. I do not like this game at all.
Okay.
So let's recap the line movement here. It opened at 5.
Yeah.
And the early money came in on the Rams.
Okay.
And it was all the way up to 6. Then the Bradford injury came in, and the line was reposted at 3.5. Now it's actually curiously gone to 4 in some places. So some people are willing to still lay points with the Rams. Look, I just don't think the Bradford injury matters very much. I was kind of shocked, quite frankly, that the line was adjusted as it was by 2.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Bradford, to me, does not have a value of 2.5 points. I think absolutely not. I'm staying away.
Well, even if you think that Sam Bradford is basically your replacement level quarterback.
I have him below that.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Sam Bradford is not a replacement level quarterback.
Your opinion, I must say, really is kind of an outlier. I don't know that there's too many people that are as harsh on him as you
Who
are.
likes Sam Bradford?
I'm not saying
Chief check down? Wounded Ram?
As far as the check down part, again, it always goes to who have you got at receiver and can they get open?
Well,
if they can't get open...
When you don't have a creative coordinator.
Well, true. Yeah, that's part of it. I absolve him of a lot of the things that you hang on him. So, yeah, I think that St. Louis is going to be in a decent amount of trouble, and as such... I'll take the Vikes getting the 4.
They should have picked Johnny Manziel, by the way. I'm just going to say that right now. We didn't say it when we talked about it, but all the else, they should have picked Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. As a Browns fan, I would rather that the Vikings had Manziel and that the...
No, I was talking about the Rams.
Oh, the Rams could have saved us this in the first place.
Yeah, the Rams I thought should have taken Manziel instead of Aaron Donald.
Oh, well, that's true.
With the second pick.
That's true.
With their
it would have taken
pick.
the Browns preemptively taking Bridgewater, leaving Manziel to the Vikings, which is where I thought you were going. But, yeah, St. Louis could have done that. Again, as a Browns fan, I prefer any outcome that gives the Browns Teddy Bridgewater. Last note on that, by the way, the whole thing of the whole silly season thing, you as far as how quarterbacks get evaluated and everything like that, everyone was nitpicking all that Bridgewater stuff, but I mean, like, here's the thing, Kyle Ross, the pessimism among myself and a lot of people early last season when the Browns went on that tear of like, oh, we'll never be able to get Teddy Bridgewater. When did the Browns get too good for Teddy Bridgewater is what I want to know. When did that happen? Because I was paying attention the whole time. And then it was a thing of, yeah, we could draft Teddy Bridgewater, but why would we want to do that? When did that happen? I must have been sleeping the day the Browns became too good for Teddy Bridgewater.
I don't know. Was Kevin Costner involved in that decision?
Probably, yeah.
What a dog movie that was.
I haven't seen it yet. But,
neither have I. I'm just assuming.
One of the guys in my league named, and this went right over my head because I didn't see the movie, named his team the Pancake-Eating MFers, I guess. That was a line from the movie. So
it doesn't make me want to watch it. I will not be stopping at a Red Box on the way home.
I got the implication you had watched it from what you were saying.
No, so I just assumed it was terrible.
You're denouncing it unseen. Okay, well,
have you seen? I've seen the commercials.
I've seen the commercials, and they're not promising.
You're crazy. Haven't I proved that yet?
It could just be how Hollywood markets these things. But then again, probably not.
Yes, you'd like to think they put the good parts in the commercial.
Well, yeah, if those are the best parts of the movie, God help them.
By the way, that Dennis Leary, that report he set on fire in the commercial, I believe was actually the analytics report saying to take Teddy Bridgewater.
Nice.
That was a good one. That was a quick one. I was firing. I was like, I got to get a joke. Draft day joke. Commercial.
That was
Bridgewater,
awesome.
Analytics report.
Yes. That was very, very impressive there. The next game.
The writers are working overtime.
Yeah. We have up next here a rematch of the Heidi Bowl from 1968. It's the New York Jets laying 5.5, had been 4.5 at the open against the Raiders. Again, two teams that I think are, I don't know if the Jets are quite outright garbage as you do, but I think they're not far from that point. That should make me very, I'll use the word again in a different context, leery, no pun intended, about taking them in this instance. But the Raiders, the worst team in the league, going cross-country, week 1, rookie quarterback. Give me the Jets. I'll lay 5.5.
I could see that. I mean, my opinion on the Raiders in 1 o'clock starts.
Yep.
You never take them.
You sold me on the 1 o'clock.
I mean, they are not good. I don't have the exact. I wish I used to have that record in front of me always for these things, but it's usually when I was picking against them. I will not be picking against them here, although I can see why you are. The reason I will not be picking against them is because at no time during this season will I want to be caught laying points with the New York Jets.
Okay, I can understand that.
Especially this many. More than a field goal?
I can
Jets?
Yeah, but again, I just don't see the Raiders doing much of anything. Although, again, as I've indicated a couple different times for teams that I was going to take, I keep referring to the backdoor scenario. Yeah, I could see the Raiders screwing me on this one here. Yeah, just getting right inside of it. And
oh, no.
Lose by about 4 or whatever. What, did it just dawn on you what my 1,000-star gold-plated lock of the millennium for NFL Week 1 is going to be? It seems like it just dawned on you as you're glancing at your sheet. I love these spontaneous reactions in real time, by the way. This is the kind of quality entertainment that the fans are getting from us here.
I guess I could hold out all hope against hope that you're going to do it the right way, but you're not.
What, you mean old road favorite Ricky?
Oh, he rears his ugly head in week 1? With the 1,000-star lock of the week? I don't want to talk about Oakland and the Jets anymore. I want to talk about what an ass you are for making this pick.
Here it is, ladies and
gentlemen. The most obvious, publicly backed road favorite on the board, and Rick Morris has thrown his weight behind him.
Oh, my God. My face is hurting right now. I'm laughing so hard.
Oh, my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New England Patriots, they are laying 4.5 up from 3.5 initially on the road.
And it's up
Miami.
to 5, and it is climbing, baby.
5? Okay.
It's up to 5. There's as much variance on this line as I've seen. There's 4.5, there's 5, and there's 5.5.
Doesn't make me blink at all. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, again, I love the Dolphins. They're my 1A team behind my Cleveland Browns. I loathe the Patriots. Bill Belichick, I always say every summer during training camp, I'm waiting for someone to douse that garbage bag that he wears in gasoline and set it on fire. Nevertheless, you have to be impartial when making your plays here. My impartial, considered judgment, Kyle Ross, is that New England is going to absolutely house the Miami Dolphins here in this opener. Talk about teams that, again, trying to bounce back from last year in New England. A lot of, again, they were not the favorites in the AFC Championship, okay? They were not expected to beat Denver, and particularly with all the injuries. But it was not a good showing. We kind of tend to forget what an egg they laid in Denver in that game here. Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, they've been pointing to this one all off season. Give me the Patriots laying 4.5 for my 1,000-star gold-plated lock of the millennium for NFL Week 1 in 2014.
My 5th recommendation of the week is on the Miami Dolphins, and I would absolutely recommend waiting till Sunday to bet this game because the way it's going, it might get close to like 6.5.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of things that I like about the NFL. A team being bet up for -3.5 across the 6 is not one of them. I think that Miami can absolutely sneak in the back door here. New England only 1-4 against the number last year, laying points on the road. They lost in Miami, laying a smaller number. Oh, by the way, I think in terms of value, by the time Sunday rolls around, Dolphins, a team that I'm not very high on, but some are, I think the Dolphins are my final recommended selection.
Well, Kyle,
as I stumble with my words there.
Kyle, I say if New England was 1-4 in those spots last year, as good of a team as they are, that sounds like the kind of thing that's due to go the other way.
Yeah, road favorites are never due to go the other way. When the light bulb went in over my head when we were talking about the last game, and I realized where we were going when I looked at the last game, what game we hadn't talked about, I was like, oh, hell no.
I thought we briefly talked about this off air, and that you would have
but
gleaned
you know my
from the
short-term
three.
memory.
Okay,
it's like Josh Gordon.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that would be the common denominator there.
We're both very tall and like to catch passes.
Yes, I'm sure that's the alpha and omega of it all. But as far as the Patriots go, yeah, again, not a fan of them personally, but How can you not, Kyle Ross? How can you not? And with that kind of flawless logic, how can you not?
I don't like the Dolphins, and I'm backing them.
Well, all right. There's a certain rough logic that I suppose. So you're going with one favorite this week, Chicago. The other ones are dogs: Atlanta, Miami, Dallas, and San Diego. My three recommendations: Minnesota, the Jets, and the Patriots for my lock for the week. So 1 week down in this season to evaluate. Kyle Ross, 16 to go. The playoffs beyond that. It's the start of another glorious ride. Looking forward to doing it all with you again, my man, this entire season. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for checking us out here. Mini episode number 456 in the FDH Lounge.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and the periodic table of elements.